welcome both the councillors that are here and also members of the public. I'd like now to read the affirmation. Tēnā koutou katoa. We seek wisdom, understanding, insights into the views and circumstances of others, strength to seek what we believe in, humility to accept the combined decisions of others, patience, good humour at all times, tolerance and courtesy while working in the best interests of the community. Could I now invite Councillor Fletcher to come to the centre of the room to read and sign her statutory declaration.
Swear that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform, in the best interests of Auckland, the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Auckland Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Councillor Fletcher, of course, is not a new member, so she doesn't get to give a maiden speech, which I'm sure will be a disappointment to her. Can I now call for apologies? There are no apologies. We've got a full house here. Call on any councillor who needs to make a declaration of interest in relation to the proceedings before us today. No declarations of interest. There are no acknowledgements and achievements to record. There are no petitions. So next we come to the public input, but before inviting in order received the people who wanted to make a submission to the council under the public input sector, can I just remind councillors and also members who are speaking, members of the public who are speaking, that we will be strictly adhering to standing orders today. We have a very long agenda and it's important that we progress the business in an expeditious way. Speakers, including councillors, will be timed. There are 5-minute speeches unless for councillors introducing a motion. There will be 10 minutes, a 1-minute warning bell will be given. Councillors should also be reminded, particularly those of us that are new, that under Standing Order 1.4.2, they will only be allowed to speak once to a motion or amendment when a debate on an item is underway. Right, so under Standing Order 7.7.3, I advise that 4 public input requests have been received. 3 have been accepted and will speak here this morning. 1, which is the request from People for Peace. Just let's get this right. We're all for the police and presumably all for peace as well. That was declined because it was out of time under Standing Order 7.7.2, but it has been referred to the Environment and Community Committee. I've not chosen to invoke the Chair's discretion under 7.7.3 because I do not believe that it meets the criteria set out. However, I do know the individuals involved and I'm more than happy for a meeting with them to take place in my office at the conclusion of this meeting, should they wish. Speaking requests were received in the following order, and I'll invite people in that order to speak. The first request is Greenpeace Aotearoa New Zealand in relation to item 10, approval of block offer 2017 and the council submission. Could I please have Steve Abel and Kate Simcock come to the table. Kate's not here, so it's just you, Steve.
Yes, that's right.
Fine.
That's where I should be. Yeah.
Please have a seat.
Tēnā koutou, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors, and congratulations to those of you newly elected and those of you re-elected, including the new mayor. My name's Steve Abel. I'm acting on as spokesperson on climate and energy for Greenpeace New Zealand, and here to strongly urge the mayor and council to oppose proposed offshore exploration and drilling, oil drilling that is. There's no formal mechanism of public consultation on offshore drilling except through our local body representatives. We're grateful for the opportunity to address you again today for the third time as it happens. Third time lucky, we hope. This year we have not encouraged the public to email you, though we have a nice assemblage of people here supporting, but wish to note for the benefit of the new representatives that this is an issue Aucklanders feel very strongly about, and thousands of emails were sent to councillors from the public last year when the issue was before the council. The impact of an offshore oil spill, I'm just going to see if this works. Oh. Do I just push the green? Oh, that's that's it, yep. The impact of an offshore oil spill could be catastrophic to the marine coastal environment. Indeed, this is the risk, is the main reason that the Christchurch Council has voted for the third time to oppose the block offer outright, with only one dissenting vote last week. The risk to Auckland is worse because of prevailing weather patterns. Industry standard oil spill modelling done by both by Greenpeace and Anadarko, the Texan oil company, showed oil would reach Auckland's west coast beaches in ecologically devastating volumes. If there was a blowout from 100 kilometres, it would enter the Manukau and Kaipara harbours and inundate west coast beaches. This is the actual modelling underway now, as you can see it. It's a trajectory spill modelling, industry standard, commissioned for a blowout over 100 kilometres offshore in the deep water Taranaki Basin, which is part of this new block offer. According to Lloyd's Insurance and the US government, drilling at depth is the riskiest and exploratory drilling is the most dangerous stage. The areas offered for drilling are in deep water. The council's position of not opposing drilling so long as it occurs outside the marine mammal sanctuary is meaningless insofar as an oil spill respects no such boundary, as we saw in a devastating scale in the Gulf of Mexico blowout in 2010. The only safe option is to not drill at all. Next slide, please. And the following one, next slide, please. It's a whale in the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. I want to speak to the critical urgency of now in terms of tackling climate change. Next slide, please. 2015 was the hottest year since records began in 1880, and the previous hottest year was 2014. The World Meteorological Society have just confirmed that 2016 is on track to beat 2015 as the hottest year ever. In June, they said what we have seen for the first 6 months of 2016 is really quite alarming. We would have thought it would take several years to warm up like this. We don't have as much time as we thought. This means more frequent and extreme weather events such as droughts, floods, wildfires, and superstorms impacting everyone's lives. Next slide, please. And of course, sea level rise. One of the front lines of impacts is the Pacific. Every year, month and day that we delay taking climate action, we are closer to the point where it is too late for humanity to change the course of runaway climate change. We need to be tackling climate change at every sector of society now, determinedly and urgently, and that includes every level of government. We must stop delaying and obfuscating and rapidly move our society away from fossil fuels and to clean energy if we are to have a survivable planet. Weaning ourselves off oil is a challenge, but the science of climate change tells us that we cannot afford to burn more than 2/3 of known reserves of oil, let alone search for and burn new oil if we are to stay under 2 degrees of warming. Next slide, please. On the left there, you see the 33% of oil that we can't afford to burn from known reserves. The Paris Agreement signed by New Zealand and ratified just weeks ago has now come into force. That is a commitment to try and keep global warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. But UN data shows that pledges so far to curb emissions are too weak and put the globe on target for about 3 degrees warming. The more above 2 degrees, the more devastating for all life on Earth. That is why this council, if you're true to the unequivocal science and the commitment at Paris and your own commendable City 40 pledge, must say no to oil drilling. There is no hypocrisy in living in a society dependent on oil while planning and working for a society that is free of oil dependence. If we are to transition, we must enact policies to end oil dependency even while we are hooked on oil. The logic of the accusation that we're hypocrites for opposing oil postulates that we have no right to do anything towards being oil-free until we are actually oil-free. It is a preposterous position. Please do not be fooled by this argument, much as the oil industry love it. As the Vice-Chancellor of Victoria University, Grant Guilford, stated when he divested that university, the prerequisite for hypocrisy is choice. Part of your role as elected representatives is to give us future choice. That requires you to say no to oil today so that we may live without it tomorrow. That saying no also directs us to huge opportunities, including jobs and clean energy innovation. To make a commitment to climate action such as the City 40 position that Auckland has rightly taken, and then to endorse the search for new oil that science tells us we cannot burn, that would be the ultimate hypocrisy.
Steve, if you could just wind up, please.
Certainly, I've got two more
sentences.
lines. Today is a great opportunity for the Auckland Council to demonstrate it is truly committed to climate action and set Auckland towards a clean energy future by opposing oil drilling off our coasts. We sincerely hope you take that opportunity for all of our sakes. Kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Steve. The next submission is on the same topic. If there are specific questions that any councillor would like to put to Greenpeace, otherwise we'll move straight on. Thank you very much, Steve. Could I please invite to the table Oil-Free News Auckland and ask Annabeth Cohen to come to the table. Thanks, Annabeth. You've got 5 minutes. 1 minute warning bell.
Thank you. I'd like to start by welcoming the Auckland City Councillors and Mayor Phil Goff into this new term. And for some of you, welcome to a new role. Congratulations to all of you on the hard work you've done to get to the seat that you are in today. We know that you are well aware that all the hard work has really only just begun. The chair you fill today comes with an enormous, incredible responsibility. For the decisions you make together in this hall will impact the Aucklanders and New Zealanders and the world, believe it or not. Your decisions will impact this world. The power you wield and the legacy you leave will be judged by the decisions you make in these chairs, in these walls, among company like us here today. But don't be mistaken, because the impact of your decisions will travel far beyond the here and now. Your decisions have the ability to affect my children's children, the mokopuna of mokopuna. Let that sit with you for a moment, that your decisions will affect the mokopuna of all of our mokopuna. The notion exists, yes, but perhaps it is only now being understood that inaction on climate change is now being termed intergenerational theft. Today, I am before you on behalf of thousands of Aucklanders who support oil-free Auckland and oppose deep-sea drilling. Oil-free Auckland's kaupapa is about transitioning Aotearoa to a safe climate for a habitable future. We do that namely by protecting our future and by reminding people like yourselves of the awesome power and responsibility that you hold. You must ensure that a safe climate for a habitable future becomes a reality, not a dream or a myth from past generations. Today, you have the choice to oppose deep-sea drilling. Today, thousands of Aucklanders stand with oil-free Auckland and with generations to come. Reluctantly, we acknowledge what we know our mokopuna will ask of us. They will ask, why didn't we stop looking for more fossil fuels? Why didn't we stop looking for more and drilling for more? And why didn't those in power do more with their power? They will read that we knew for decades that climate change, what it would do to our atmosphere, to our food supply, to our well-being, and to our way of life. They will ask why we waited decades. Why did we? Why did we even wait a single minute for immediate power to do the right thing? Today, you have the immediate power to do the right thing, to stand on the right side of history today. Must we come here every year to give the same deputation? Must we pretend that perhaps this council doesn't know all the facts? Must we excuse that perhaps the situation is just too complicated to make a decision on it just yet? Should we forgive the past? Aucklanders in the world are waiting to forgive the past. We're waiting with bated breath to celebrate the actualization of the promises. The promise of the Paris Agreement, yes, but closer to home, the promise of the promise that Auckland made with the Compact of Mayors. The compact of dozens of cities around the world which encourages its signatories to accelerate more ambitious action on climate. A compact which promises to set ambitious targets for greenhouse gas emissions and to directly address climate risk.